Hey, what's up, Northwest University students? I am really excited to be kicking off project number 3. This is the third and final project for this class, Introduction to Data Management. And while the first two projects were focused on human to computer interaction, meaning that first one we built out and expanded on what would typically be considered like a lead form on a website. So the scenario there was you were at a company, you got handed a ticket, and they said, hey, can you add a couple of fields to our website's form? Then you would go off and run with that. The scenario there was all about learning how to interact with and modify an existing system, since that's what you're going to be doing in the real world at your first job. And in order to accomplish that, you had to do a couple of things. You had to edit the HTML template. You needed to add a new database migrations. You needed to alter the table and add those new columns. And then we needed to, of course, edit the controller and the entity object that needed to be validated. So we added in some like minimum and maximum values, or you might have had like some string length requirements or otherwise. But in that scenario, that was project 1. Project 2 then took things a little bit further. We spent a while designing a donors and donations concept, so for a hypothetical charity, and then we populated that database with information. So we designed the tables, we populated the tables, and then it was your job to actually create reports for 3 different characters. The CEO, who wanted information about the trends of donations, someone who needed to know when donor information wasn't all the way filled out, that way they could give them a call, and so on and such forth. So that was all about building reports, and the output of that was you created HTML-based reports, meaning that these individuals in the organization went to our web application, clicked on a link, and they said maybe got the Jennifer report. And then the output of that was they could view their information, and that's great. That's what human to web application interaction looks like. A ton of companies run products and services like that. Project number 3 is all about an API, or computer to computer interaction. And in the world of an API, the programming language or the technology that your service is running may differ, and often does, from the technology or programming language that your client code is running. Case in point being, you might have a back-end engineering team that writes their code in Java, and you might have a front-end engineering team that is doing all of the web application and interaction and so on, and they'd be writing in maybe TypeScript or JavaScript, creating a Vue.js application that is what users actually interact with using their browser. And then furthermore, you might actually have an application that is interacted with by a third party, and they might have a script or something like that where they automatically upload information. That's the API model. So what do we need to do? Well, we're going to build a service similar to a very, very, very lightweight version of TaskRabbit, where we can create a task, and we're going to pass in 3 fields: title, description, and the amount that they're willing to pay. In this case here, I'm giving it a type of money. So that is presumed to be something that will get an amount and a currency code. And in this case here, for US dollars, we're assuming between $5 and $999. In response, our system is going to go back and give an ID with a type of long, just because we've been using that so far. A title, it'll be the same title that was supplied, maybe with some filtering applied if we want to prevent like SQL injection or remove any kind of HTML that might have been supplied by the requester. Same thing with a description and the amount that they're willing to pay. All those are supplied by the end users. And then we'll give them back a status. When it's created, it will be pending, but presumably if we were to keep working on this project, a task would be able to transition from pending to in progress and finally completed in the happy path. And then in the sad path, they might cancel a task or change their mind. And then finally, of course, when the task was created at. So that will be this field here and this field here are handled by database automation, and the status is like a domain logic type of thing. So whenever we create one, we will set that enumeration to be in the pending status. Okay, what do you need to deliver? You need to deliver a documented API, meaning that someone else could take a look at your documentation and build their own client code from that. And the way that documentation will be generated is using a piece of technology called mock MVC, when we write our controller level unit tests. And that information will be accessible at /docs/index on our local web service. Then we need to actually consume our API. So we need to build some client code that will actually make those requests, and we need to prove that it made those requests via, say, like console output or otherwise, and that's what that will do. It doesn't have to be in Java. I'm not enforcing that, but if you want to keep things simple, that's what I'm going to be using to write the example code. What endpoints do you need to build out? Well, we need to be able to get a single resource. So that is like if you're to say visit /API/tasks/1, and you make a GET request there, you'd expect to get back task 1's content there. We want to be able to update a status there. So maybe we want to be able to move an API from pending to in progress, or update the title or fix our description. Maybe the person had some typos. They want to be able to perform a put operation. The post operation is given. We got to be able to create the new task to begin with. So you might want to work on that one first. And then the deletion, in this case here, performing a delete on a task will move it to the canceled status, as long as it is not in progress or completed. So we want to kind of think about a little bit of this domain logic here. There is a bit of complexity, but not a ton. And then we want to be able to get a list of all of the APIs and with some pagination in there, meaning like I want to get page 1 with 10 results and page 2 with 10 results, and so on and such forth. And then we might want to sort those by title descending, or maybe created at ascending or something like that. So, and of course, our information must persist contents or these tasks to the database, similar to all of our other tasks in there. That is the project 3 at a very high level. I look forward to working with this project with each of you. And I hope everyone is doing well and has weathered Treepocalypse 2024, also known as our great Bombogenesis weather storm that we had over the weekend. So anyways, take care.